Hi, folks. A few technical problems. A major concern was the change to daylight savings times. But anyway, thank you for your patience and sticking around. Welcome to the 52nd presentation hosted by AlmonTravel, CARP, and Tonight Europe Express, held every Tuesday at 6:30 Atlantic time. As in the past, this presentation is being recorded and will be on the CARP travel website shortly after. A bit about us: AlmonTravel, official agency for CARP Nova Scotia. We've been in business, this coming May, it's going to be 19 years. We have several particular specialties, although we can do most anything. Coach tours, from local tours like a tour of Newfoundland and Labrador to coach tours around the world. We have relationships with a variety of touring companies to find the best option for you. We've done 130 destination weddings from across Canada in the Caribbean area. Now, while that doesn't necessarily fit with this demographic, certainly our group experience can be very helpful if you have any anniversaries, retirements, or special occasions coming up. It is a bit of an effort to put a group together. We have lots of experience with that, can help you. Caribbean area vacations. As a result of our time spent with destination weddings, we have vacationed in various areas in the Caribbean, and it has always been a policy of ours that when we're down there, we arrange 4 or 5 resort visitations, official resort visitations, to check out and inspect the resort. So as a result of checking that out for destination weddings, we also know them well for their suitability for adult only and for family friendly resorts too. So we certainly can help you with that. Extended family Florida trips. We focus on theme park vacations like Universal Studios, Disney, SeaWorld, and Busch Gardens, amongst others. These are massive parks, folks, and if you've never been there, you know, the 6 or 7 days, certainly for Disney, is needed, and you really have to organize yourself because they're so big, you can get lost. So we certainly have been to all of these theme parks several times. We can help you with that. Ocean cruises, the most popular itineraries: Hawaii, the Mediterranean, the 3 Caribbean itineraries, east, west, and south. Cruise around the UK, which was a unique experience. We've also cruised from New Zealand to Australia, and also on most people's bucket list, a cruise in Alaska. And folks, I've mentioned this a number of times before, but with global warming, and yes, it is real, I think if an Alaska cruise is on your bucket list, you want to probably move that to the top, because in some places, glaciers are receding by hundreds of meters a year. We've also done river cruises, a particular specialty of ours. We've done 10 different itineraries around the world, including 3 in Asia. In Vietnam, 2 itineraries: the Mekong with Cambodia, that's the temples of Angkor Wat, as well as the Red River in the north. We've also done cruise tours on the Yangtze in China, the Nile in Egypt, which, folks, has been the top trip of my life, and lots of travel, so that's saying something, as well as the Rhine, the Danube, and the Rhone, which is in southern France. We've also done the Po River in Italy, using Venice as a base, and if you have any desires to visit that city, that's a perfect way to do it. And Portugal's Douro River in Europe. We learned to appreciate port wine, which they're famous for. Finally, we've done the Mississippi on an old-fashioned paddle wheeler in the US out of New Orleans, which is certainly worth spending a few days at the beginning or the end. Travel conditions. Omicron is still a factor to be considered for international travel. For most, especially vaccinated people, it's a form of the disease that seems not to be as serious in its effect as earlier versions of COVID. Even the government of Canada is recognizing this, as rules for testing to get back home are not as stringent as they once were. Expensive PCR testing is no longer required, being replaced by inexpensive antigen testing, saving a family of 4 as much as $600 on the trip. It seems that we're heading towards a dropping of all restrictions to travel. Even cruise travel is opening up. I expect to see cruise ships back in Halifax Harbor this summer. Of course, we now have the added and significant concern of the Russian-Ukrainian conflict into its 2nd, actually 3rd week at present. The unease generated around the world is enough to cause further pause in travel planning, especially to northern regions of Europe, though I've had requests for pricing for several trips to Central Europe lately. And some travel agencies are, insurance companies are offering during trip COVID coverage. If you're double vaccinated and contract the disease and need to quarantine at destination, many of your costs to do so will be covered. This quarantine insurance is very good value and can be added to any policy you may have now as a standalone policy. The other thing that's available is through some insurance companies is cancel for any reason insurance, which if purchased within the time limit specified allows the traveler to cancel for any reason. Contact me for more information on that. In addition, one of the companies that I represent has just added COVID to normal illness ranking, meaning that if you contract COVID before you travel and need, by doctor's certificate, to cancel your trip, that can be done for a full refund. Certain restrictions are required, but it's a big step forward. AlmonTravel is the official travel agency for CARP Nova Scotia. Our connection is through Bill Van Gorder, who is the COO and Chief Policy Officer for CARP National, as well as the founding chair for CARP Nova Scotia, in addition to being senior spokesman for CARP in the Maritimes. I got to know Bill about 6 or 7 years ago when I joined an organization called 100 Men Who Give a Damn, which was a charitable organization co-founded by Bill and another gentleman. As part of the board, we met regularly to plan for the charitable organizations meeting, which happened 4 times a year. And in the time that we were in operation, about 3.5 years, we raised over $350,000 for charitable organizations in the Halifax area, all of which went to the charitable organizations. There was no overhead. So in the meetings that I attended with Bill, he booked a couple of trips through me. One was a river cruise in Europe from Amsterdam to Budapest, and the other was a Rocky Mountaineer train ride through the Rockies with a via train ride back through Canada. As a result of the service that he received from those trips that I booked, he asked if we'd be interested in being the official agency for CARP Nova Scotia. And of course I said yes. So at this time, I'd like to present Mark Yacker, Vice President for Sales for Europe Express, who will be introducing us to what this excellent touring company offers worldwide, but with a special focus on Spain and Portugal itineraries. Mark, could you take over, please?
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Danny. Are you able to hear me all right?
Yes. Yeah.
Sure, we're all good. All the technology is working now. Well, I want to thank you, Danny, and I want to thank all of you for joining us. Before I get started talking about some of my favorite places in Spain and Portugal and the things to do and see there, I thought I should probably share a little bit about who I am, why I'm talking to you today, and who Europe Express is, and where we fit into your vacation. And I first joined the travel industry 25 years ago after my own post-college travels in Europe really opened my eyes to the diversity of the world. I was blown away. On those travels, I instantly found I loved exploring new places and learning about different cultures and connecting with locals to discover all the differences and the commonalities that we all have. And that trip changed my life. That and every trip I've taken since has helped shape who I am and how I see the world. And I knew then at that time that I wanted to help other people have those types of experiences. So I started working for a variety of different tour operators back starting in my 20s and 30s and so on and so forth. But I chose to work at Europe Express because of the company's stellar reputation that I had heard so much about and their dedicated focus on Europe. And that's a continent that's just near and dear to my heart. Europe Express is a European tour operator. That's all that we do. And we partner exclusively with travel advisors like Danny to help deliver exceptional custom experiences for the travel advisors' clients. You can think of us like the friends that Danny has in Europe. That's the way I like to think of it anyway. He knows that we're going to take excellent care of your needs over there in Europe, and we know that he's going to take exceptional care of you here during the planning phase and the lead up to your vacation. Now, no matter whether you're looking for a romantic escape, a family vacation, a girlfriend getaway, or pre or post cruise extension, an outdoor adventure, maybe a culinary experience, or really a simple itinerary that lets you soak up your surroundings and fill your days just wandering. We have the in-destination support from our operations office out in Barcelona to deliver just a seamless, worry-free vacation. The team over there seeks out and vets thousands of local experiences and hotels all across Europe. And they're going to do that and make sure that we have the best that there is to offer for you, as well as very competitive prices. On top of that, they also help cover our 24-hour support line. 7 days a week, there's a support line out there. So when you're traveling, you have complete peace of mind with Europe Express. We also have the destination expertise to save you time and stress. And we're going to do that by organizing all the logistics for your vacation. And we're going to do that around exactly what you want to do, whether you want to visit one country or even one city, or you want to bounce around through multiple countries. The main thing is that Europe is where we started back in 1990, and Europe is still all that we focus on. We're specialists in what we do, and that's why travel advisors work with us. So there's 3 areas of expertise that we really focus on. Customization speaks to the fact that you deserve a European adventure that's as unique as you are, and your holiday should be built around your interests and desires. One of the best ways for you to immerse yourself in the history, the culture, and the cuisine of a destination is to seek out local experiences away from the crowds, whether that's in the major cities or exploring the hidden wonders of less visited villages and rural landscapes across these countries. Transformative travel is all about expanding horizons, right? Adopting new perspectives, focusing on our well-being, and embracing the extraordinary. We're not a motor coach tour company where hotels, sites, and destinations are chosen for you. When your travel advisor works with Europe Express, you set your own schedule and you decide how, where, and when you want to travel. Another thing to know is that Europe Express is truly a one-stop shop for independent European travel. We have air contracts with all the major carriers and offer all classes of service from economy to business and first class. We offer accommodations for every budget from 3-star to 5-star hotels, castles, paradors, B&Bs. We have more than 600 sightseeing options, from hop-on, hop-off tours to private guided excursions with VIP entrances to all the major sites, as well as special interest tours designed around what interests you the most. Maybe that's history, or maybe food and wine, or art and culture, all of those things. We also have shared, private, and executive transfers to make sure you get safely from the airport to the hotel, or from the hotel to the train station, or the train station to the cruise port, or wherever it is that you need to go on your trip. If you're looking for the ultimate flexibility, we'll help arrange a car rental. And when you travel in Europe, odds are you're going to travel by rail at some point in your stay. It's easy, comfortable, quick, affordable, scenic. What other descriptors can I use? I mean, really, another big point is that it's eco-friendly. And let's face it, it's a bit romantic. So Danny will consult with you to understand your interests, what you most want to get out of your vacation. Then he'll work with our staff to customize your quote, get you the best pricing using our local connections. And once you're happy with it all, he'll book your European holiday and make sure everything is the way you want it. So I hope that gives you an understanding of how Danny and Europe Express benefit you when you're looking at your next holiday, and how we work together to make that happen. Okay, let's get into the topic we were here to talk about, which is Spain and Portugal. You know, with Spain, from tapas to flamenco to siestas on the beach, the royal architecture of the Moors, famous works of art, and plenty of sunshine, Spain has so much to offer. And Barcelona is the perfect base for an exploration of Catalonia, the northeast region of Spain. It's a city that's built right on the coast, and it was host to the 1992 Summer Olympics. We offer private and shared architectural, cultural, culinary, and historic sightseeing tours all through the region to help you discover every corner of the city. Some of the areas in the city that might be of interest will include the Elborn Quarter. This is an offbeat and funky area of Barcelona. It's loaded with art galleries and tapas bars. And those tapas bars are also frequented by the locals. So it's a great place to get out and meet with the locals and have some conversation. The Gothic Quarter is another. This is named after the Roman village that stood there 2,000 years ago and still displays remnants of the past. And then there's Gowdy's Barcelona, where you can marvel at the artistic genius of the famed architect Antoni Gowdy. And if you've not seen any of his stuff, his mesmerizing buildings and parks throughout Barcelona are like no others you've seen anywhere in the world. I'm going to show you some in just a second. On our full-day Barcelona tour with private car and driver, you'll get introduced to the Plaza De Espana, and this was built for the 1929 International Exposition. You can see its towers there are clones of those in Venice's Piazza San Marco. Designed by Gowdy and designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1984, Parque Güell, or Park Güell, is one of the most impressive parks in the world. I spent a full day just wandering this park and relaxing and soaking up the uniqueness of it. You'll also visit Gaudy's Casabatio. This is one of the most visited and photographed building facades in all of Barcelona, another Gowdy structure. And then there's La Sagrada Familia, which was also designed by Gowdy. This is the tallest religious building in Europe, as well as one of the longest construction projects. This was started in 1882, and it's not set to be completed until 2026. That's the latest time frame for it. But don't worry, you can get inside and visit many areas of the building now. For those of you who are interested in food and wine, Barcelona is rich in the flavors of the sea. On our private cooking workshop, you'll enjoy a visit to the famous La Boqueria market, where you're going to learn about fresh fish and Mediterranean vegetables. Following the market visit, you're going to be an active participant in a cooking workshop where you'll create and enjoy a 3-course menu of tapas, paella, and dessert. Visitors to Barcelona should definitely not miss a retreat to Montserrat. This is a rocky and dramatically beautiful Benedictine monk hideaway, and it's just an hour outside of the city. Named Monserratus, or Sawtooth Mountain by the Romans, and Montserrat, or Sacred Mountain by the Catalans, the Monastery of Santa Maria de Montserrat is a pilgrimage site. It houses an ancient wooden statue of the Virgin Mary and Child. It's said that the statue was carved by St. Luke and was taken to Spain by St. Peter and hidden in a cave during the Moorish occupation. It was then rediscovered in the year 880. So on this trip, you're going to begin with a stop at the Monastery de Montserrat and take a cogwheel train up to the monastery. There, you're going to be led by a guide through Montserrat. You'll have time to enjoy the local farmers market. Following some free time, you'll visit a family-run boutique winery where you'll taste 3 of their premium vintages, and those will be paired with tapas, and then you'll stroll through the vineyards. This is the Costa Brava. It's the coast just to the north of Barcelona, and one of the most stunning sites on that coast is the Cap de Creos Natural Park. The park sits on a scenic peninsula. It's got trails and beaches and the botanical garden that all make for amazing photos. We have a full day tour there, and a full day tour to the Costa Brava with Europe Express includes visits to sandy beaches, caves, and areas of lush vegetation. You can take walks on the tranquil promenades and do a little shopping at the classic beach bazaar. And then let's not forget also about the wines of Priorat, in Spain's most fashionable and mountainous wine region. The landscapes here make it really difficult for large-scale production of wine, but the dedication of the grape growers and the winemakers there are what really make the wines of this region so distinctive and just really delightful to the palate. Let's look at a couple of hotels that we recommend in Barcelona. Just to give you an idea, we have many more than this, but the Hotel Silken Ramblas is a 4-star property. It's located right in Barcelona's downtown neighborhood, and it's also near the beach. It's within a 1-minute walk to La Rambla, which is a 3/4-mile tree-lined pedestrian street with lots of shops and restaurants. It's 3 minutes to La Boqueria Market and only 5 minutes to the Plaza de Catalunya, one of the main squares in town. The hotel has 105 air-conditioned rooms with mini bars and safes. It's a smoke-free property. It's got a 24-hour front desk, free Wi-Fi, a restaurant, a bar, and room service, as well as a rooftop pool and a spa. And the hotel also has a limited number of accessible rooms. Most of the properties that we work with out there will have limited accessible rooms. So if those are needed, they should be requested at the time of booking. Another property we love at Barcelona is the Gallery Hotel. It's another recommended 4-star hotel. It's located right in the heart of Barcelona. It's next to the Paseo de Gracia, and that's a really impressive avenue with glamorous shops and upscale restaurants. So it's kind of an upscale Las Ramblas, if you think of it that way. It's also a short walk to many of the other city sites. It's 14 minutes to the Plaza de Catalunya, and it's 18 minutes to La Rambla, 19 minutes over to La Sagrada Familia. The hotel's got 110 air-conditioned rooms with mini bars and safes. It's a smoke-free hotel that features a restaurant, an outdoor pool, a fitness center. There's also a lounge bar, a poolside bar, and a coffee shop right there on site. So let's move on to Madrid. Madrid has been the capital of Spain since the 17th century, and it's the 3rd largest city in Europe after London and Paris. Madrid's a lively and art-filled metropolis with a lot of history, and it's said to have more cloudless days than any other European city. So that sounds pretty good right about now, right? It was once ruled by the Habsburgs back in the 16th and 17th centuries, and Madrid's old city center is home to the portico-lined Plaza Mayor and the Baroque Royal Palace. There's also the Prado Museum, which houses works of art by the masters, people such as Goya and Velázquez. So we've got some different options for you in Madrid. I'll highlight a couple. On our 4-hour private Madrid highlights and panoramic walking tour, you'll start the day with a stroll through Madrid's historic center and many of its historic plazas. Then the tour will continue by private car to view some of the other famous landmarks like the Paseo del Prado, the Puerto de Toledo, Las Cortes, and Las Letras. You'll also visit the Cibeles Fountain. For those soccer fans out there, this is where Real Madrid fans celebrate their team's wins. And then the tour will finish with a visit to the Puerta de Alcalá, which is in Colón Square. We've got some other options for you too, though. On our half-day Madrid gourmet tapas adventure, you'll start the day with a hot cup of coffee and a pastry in the La Latina neighborhood, which is really known for its coffee shops and its restaurants, as well as the biggest flea market in all of Spain, the Rastro Market. And your guide will take you through the multicultural and eclectic Lavapiés neighborhood. There you'll visit food markets on these steep medieval streets, and that'll be followed by a tour of the art center and a lesson on gypsy and flamenco culture. And all the while, you'll be sampling all of those delicious foods that Spain has to offer. There's also a 3-hour Madrid tapas walking tour, and on this you'll enjoy a full array of traditional hams, Iberian pig, local olive oil, and rich manchego cheese. And you'll do that in a traditional ham tavern, and that'll be coupled with local wines that pair perfectly with these savory snacks. On our second stop on this trip, it will be at a classic Madrid tavern, where we'll get to dip into the varied tapas dishes and sip on sangria or beer or wine or soft drinks for those of you who aren't looking for the alcoholic drink. And then we finish with an indulgent sweet treat of chocolate con churros at one of Madrid's famous and its most popular chocolate shops. Now, for those of you who want to go beyond the cities, and I highly recommend that you do, I believe that in any country, but particularly in Spain, Avila is located in the rolling hills to the northwest of Madrid. It's called the town of Stones and Saints. Avila is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's considered one of the best preserved fortifications in Spain. It's known for its intact medieval city walls, and those walls have 9 gates and over 80 towers to explore. Our private full-day Avila and Segovia tour begins with an exploration of this historic city, and then we continue on to Segovia, where you'll enjoy a gourmet lunch and then tour the famous aqueduct of Segovia, which is an amazing feat of ancient Roman engineering. The tour then ends at the Alcazar of Segovia, and some of you may recognize this. This is a beautiful fortified castle, and it was the inspiration behind the Queen's Castle in Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And I'm sure you Disney fans will recognize it in every spire and turret that are in this castle. So you're going to find elegance and comfort at the 5-star Hospice Puerto de Alcalá. And this is right in the heart of Madrid's lively Salamanca district. It's a stylish boutique hotel. It's located in a renovated 19th century townhouse, and it's right in the picturesque Plaza de Independencia. It's really close to most of Madrid's other famous landmarks. The hotel's got beautiful rooms. You have choice of either 1 king-size bed or 2 twin beds in those rooms. You can enjoy the courtyard dining at the hotel restaurant and get pampered at a superb spa. Moving on and further south, we're going to head to Seville, or Sevilla, as the locals call it. It's the capital and the largest city in the region of Andalusia in southern Spain. It's the city of Carmen, Don Juan, and Figaro, and it's one of the favorite places I've ever been. I spent quite a bit of time in Seville in my explorations of Spain and Europe in those post-college trips. According to legend, Seville was founded by Hercules, and it was called Hispales by the early Romans and Ispilia by the Moors from North Africa. You have a lot of Moorish architecture and influences in this area. Where it really came into its own, though, in its economic high point was after the discovery of the New World in 1492, when wealth flowed back to Spain, and in particular to Seville. We have a 2-hour private Knights of the Legends walking tour. And on this, you'd begin your moonlight stroll. I apologize, I don't have nighttime pictures. They didn't take very well, but you're going to start that moonlight stroll through the old Jewish quarter of Santa Cruz, followed by a peek at the squares and the corners where Don Juan enjoyed many a romantic tryst. And then the tour also includes the history of 2 of Seville's infamous leaders, the poet king Al-Mutamid, who ruled the area from 1040 to 1095, and King Peter I, who was known as Don Pedro the Cruel. They each resided in the Royal Alcazar right there in the center of Seville, where the architecture tells a story of both Muslim and Catholic religions. Now, my favorite place to stay in Seville by far is Las Casas de Juderia. It's a 4-star hotel located in the historic district. It's super unique. The owner slowly bought up an entire block of traditional townhomes and converted them into one of the most unique hotels in Spain. The rooms surround several of these picturesque courtyards, all connected by a labyrinth of open-air corridors. You're essentially in a neighborhood. It's really interesting. And the rooms are built into these townhomes. So there's 178 smoke-free rooms. They have air conditioning and free Wi-Fi. There's a 24-hour front desk and 24-hour room service, a restaurant, a bar, a spa, and an absolutely spectacular rooftop pool and terrace that overlooks the city. Now, for those of you looking to venture out from Seville on a day trip, I recommend a visit to Ronda. This is set on a mountaintop and perched really high above the deep El Tajo Gorge. And Ronda is one of the most beautiful ancient towns in Spain. On a full day, 10-hour Ronda Soul of Andalusia excursion from Seville, you're going to stroll the 19th century gardens of the Alameda del Tajo. You're going to stop for a photo opportunity at the Plaza del Toros. It's the oldest stone bullfighting ring in Spain. You can marvel at the engineering of the Felipe V Gate Bridge and the San Miguel Bridge over the canyon. And finally, you'll admire the Moorish architecture of the Church of Santa Maria. Ronda is also known for its wines. And our excursion will conclude with a guided tour and wine tasting at the Bodega Sangre, which is a unique interpretive wine center. It'll teach you all about the wines of the entire region, not just Ronda. We offer a number of different day trips to other towns that surround Seville. But if you want a more independent exploration of Andalusia at your own pace, we can organize a car rental for you. And here's just a sample of an itinerary that we might recommend, but we would build the itinerary around what you're looking for. So Cordoba makes a great starting point, and you should make sure not to miss the mosque in the city center there. Then you may choose to move on to the magnificent Alhambra and relax a bit in the Arabic tea houses over in Granada. And then on to Seville to enjoy the many sites that we've just discussed. If gastronomy is what interests you, Cordoba and Sevilla are 2 of the largest producers of Spanish olive oil. They actually yield more than 2/3 of all the olive oil produced in Spain. There's also Jerez de la Frontera and Malaga, and both of those are known for wine and their sherry production. Sherry was actually originated in Jerez. So that loop from Cordoba via Granada, Malaga, Jerez, and Sevilla is only about 650 kilometers. So divided over a week or 2, it makes for a fabulous journey through southern Spain's history and food. Sorry, that's Malaga there. I forgot to advance. Now, Spain can also be easily combined with a visit to Portugal. Portugal is about 1.5 times the size of Nova Scotia, so very manageable, and it occupies 1/6 of the Iberian Peninsula, with Spain occupying the rest to the east and to the north of Portugal. While Portugal is not a large country, it does offer a great diversity of geography, from the low-lying coasts and plains to the 6,500-foot high Estrela Mountains, not to mention a long, beautiful coastline. And Portugal is another great place for a culinary adventure. Lisbon is Portugal's capital city, and it's reminiscent of another worldly city you may know, San Francisco. And that's because of its hilly terrain, its streetcars, and it's got a real cosmopolitan melting pot feel. There are a variety of different cuisines that can be found here. You've got seafood dishes, of course, given that they're there on the sea. You have Indian dishes from Goa, which was a former Portuguese territory. And then right down to pizza and gelato from Rome and sausages from Austria. So a really varied cuisine across Portugal. And to drink, Danny mentioned it earlier, there's port, of course, but also another local liquor called Giginga. And that's a local liquor that's made from port, but also with sour cherries, brown sugar, and cinnamon. Santa Cruz is a beach town that's just north of Lisbon. It's got beautiful coastal paths and cliffs and really offers stunning panoramic views of the coastline. Here you can delight in a bit of sand and surf while you enjoy sumptuous seafood menus of many of the restaurants that line the beaches there that are all found in this western shoreline area of Santa Cruz. And Porto is just a little over 2.5 hours north from Santa Cruz, and it's really seen an increase in popularity as a vacation destination. I've heard about Porto for many years, but we're seeing a real uptick in popularity. It's smaller than Lisbon, so it's more easily navigated. Its Ribeira district is the oldest in the city. It's got cobbled medieval lanes that lead to a bunch of different bars, restaurants, and cafes and shops. It's a really great atmosphere out there in Porto. Now, a couple of great options for hotels in this area include the HF Phoenix Lisboa. It's a luxurious 4-star property and one of our preferred hotels. It's located right in the heart of Lisbon city center. It offers easy access to the boutique shops of Avenida de Liberdade, Parque Eduardo VII, and the Tagus River. All of its 193 rooms are smoke-free, there's free Wi-Fi, they have air conditioning, and there's a 24-hour front desk. The hotel also has a bar, it's got a restaurant, it has a gift shop, and a currency exchange desk right there on property. In Porto, the HF Ipanema Park offers 5-star service in its 281 smoke-free rooms. There's attractions such as the Douro River, the Museum of Contemporary Art, and the Botanic Gardens that are just a short walk from the hotel. There's air conditioning and Wi-Fi, 24-hour front desk, a restaurant, and 24-hour room service. There's also a fantastic rooftop pool. There's a garden bar, a massage center, and a squash court. So the hotel really provides all of the comforts that you need for an exceptional stay in Porto. Now, a great suggested itinerary in the north of Portugal will take you through the Douro Valley as well as the Alto Minho. And these are Portugal's gorgeous wine regions. While it's easy to take sightseeing day trips from Porto, we can also, again, create a drive itinerary if that's something that's of interest to you, to give you more time in these regions. So not only will you see adorable villages and serene scenery along the way, but you'll also have plenty of opportunities to stop and taste the white and the red wines of the Douro, which will ultimately also be used in the production of port. And you'll have the chance to taste the Vinho Verde, or the crisp green wines of Alto Minho. In the Douro, we recommend a stop at Pinhal railway station, and the station's full of really ornate blue and white tiles which illustrate the history of the region's wine. And in Alto Minho, a stop at any of the hotels on the Rota das Tapas will offer you tapas accompanied with the local wine tasting. And before we end the whirlwind tour here today of Spain and Portugal, let's not forget to talk about the Azores. So these are located in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, 2 hours by plane off the coast of Portugal. The Azores are, you can kind of think of them as Portugal's Hawaii. They're often referenced as Portugal's Hawaii. Its 9 islands are divided into 3 different groups: Eastern, Central, and Western. and they each offer a variety of outdoor exploration. So there's activities there like big game fishing, bird watching, canoeing, kayaking, biking, hiking. You've got golf, horseback riding, surfing, there's whale watching, yachting, and a ton of other things. For those of you who are looking to relax, I know that just made me tired. For those of you who are looking to relax, you can take in the many springs, the waterfalls, and the thermal baths. And let's not forget there's a lake-filled caldera. There's actually several of them because they are volcanic islands. There's beaches, there's a national recreational forest that's just filled with lush green pastures and hedgerows of blue hydrangeas. So you can see that there's so many great places to explore across Spain and Portugal. We really only just didn't even barely scratch the surface today. When you work with Danny to discuss your interests and what you most want to get out of your holiday, we'll build an itinerary that's perfect for you. Just wanted to give you a sampling of some of the things that we do, but realize that we fully customize every itinerary that we create. So there are no two itineraries that are the same, whether that's in one or both of these countries or anywhere else in Europe. So I probably don't have to tell you that policies and current regulations for travel in Europe have been changing frequently. Danny mentioned it earlier. He'll be able to provide you with resources to stay up to date with the latest information. The good news is that requirements have really been loosening significantly over the past month, particularly for travelers who are vaccinated. And this summer, things are expected to be in the best shape that they've been since the pandemic started. As a result of that, though, and the pent-up demand from all over the world, we recommend that you start planning your Europe holiday now, especially if you're thinking about the summer. Otherwise, plan to avoid the busy summer months. It is already getting busy with bookings, and availability is getting tight in various spots across Europe. Now, despite the current conditions and the improving conditions, we all know that things can be unpredictable. So to help provide flexibility and peace of mind, Europe Express has shortened the window where travelers can change or cancel their trip with limited or no penalties. We've shortened that to just 8 days before departure. And one last thing to mention is travel insurance. And I know, again, Danny had mentioned this. Even in the best of times, travel insurance is super important. It's an important element of any international holiday. It not only protects your money, but it also provides medical coverage for injury or illness while you're traveling. And during these COVID times, it's been way more important than ever to have travel insurance. We've been seeing people test positive prior to leaving for Europe, causing them to cancel their plans last minute. We've been seeing people test positive, I'm talking about, of course, for COVID, before returning home or moving on to another country that's already on their itinerary, and that can require them to quarantine for 1 to 2 weeks, or worse, end up in a hospital. And all of that can come at a big financial cost. So please protect yourself and your money. Make sure you have travel insurance that covers you while abroad, and ensure that it has coverage for costs associated with contracting COVID. And Danny can help you with all of that. All right, with that, I want to thank you all for joining us this evening. I want to invite Danny back to wrap things up.
My camera is a little slow to come on. I did that a few seconds ago. We'll see what happens here. Anyway, it doesn't really need me there anyway. Mark, thank you very, very much for a really interesting presentation on Spain and Portugal. 2 Canadian favorites, but there are only few of the places that Europe Express is capable of handling. So lovely, absolutely lovely pictures. A picture is equal to 1,000 words. I think your pictures were equal to 10,000 words each. So it was wonderful. I really appreciate that. As I spoke with you, when we were organizing this, I was going to, I know what happened. I forgot to put the little cover. There we go. Was was taking some comments on your presentation and wanted to sort of highlight those. The idea of travel opening your eyes, absolutely correct. You get to see what people in different parts of the world live like, what their living circumstances are, and it really does open your eyes to, to understanding perhaps better people from other countries, especially very different cultures. I really like the idea of a company that has 32 years of experience. I think the more experience, the more contacts, the more close relationships you have with those contacts, the better service you're going to be able to offer. And I think that's fantastic. Makes me very confident as an agent, booking with you.
I could tell you, Danny, that really helped us through the pandemic as well. The relationships that we had with those local suppliers enabled us to really maximize the refunds that we were able to get for clients.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. That protects clients too, which we saw an awful lot of non-protected clients over the last 2 years. So 24-hour support line, that's great for clients and it's great for me. I had a client back, probably about 15 years ago, who was in Spain and had her passport pickpocketed in the Las Ramblas area, which is it has a little bit of a reputation there. I think you have to be very careful about that. I mean, it's a wonderful place to visit. But anyway, I got a call at 2 o'clock in the morning. She was leaving to come back home 2 days later, and we were limited in what we could do here in Canada because of the time. So it's absolutely fantastic benefit to have somebody in a similar time zone if there are any problems. So I like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Customized travel, I can put together, as you are aware, Mark, I can put together excursions for clients to add on to a trip, but I feel that it's very useful to have the same company who is arranging the trip to arrange the excursions too, and being responsible for them and making sure that everything goes well. And there's sort of a crossover between the itinerary of the trip and the excursion. So, I think that's a wonderful thing too.
The thing about, Danny, if I can expand just for a second, is you're right, to have the one company do it, one of the biggest benefits of that is that all the parts are speaking to each other. So
Yes.
if there's a delay in one spot, maybe it's the flight over right away, boom, your whole trip is now pushed back.
Yeah.
And when you, as an advisor, of course, have worked with one supplier out there in Europe, we can move down the line and notify people, hey, that transfer, let's push it back an hour.
Okay.
Hotel, hey, the person's going to be turning up late, please hold the room.
Yeah.
And those things are what we lose when people book little bits of their trip here and little bits there and somewhere else.
That's absolutely wonderful because it becomes seamless then.
Exactly.
I feel that that's absolutely a great thing to have. I was looking at your Gowdy, and there's a word in our English language that sounds very similar to that.
Gowdy, right?
And don't offend anybody's sensibilities, but yeah, Gowdy. But yeah, I've seen that picture of the curved railing there on many sites, and I don't recall what that was actually for, but I remember always getting a kick out of it.
It's the park. You can go, and that's where I said I spent the day. It was amazing. That's actually a raised area and those are benches. All of those curved bits. It's so hard to photograph that place in any sort of way to give you a real feel of what it is.
Okay.
But there are tunnels and areas underneath that. There's sprawling landscapes. There's houses that he built there that look like sandcastles.
Yeah.
Or gingerbread houses.
That's amazing. You mentioned the possibility of touring by private car. That's an absolutely wonderful way to do touring. On a bus, you get deposited as a group in a certain area, and then you have to walk to where you're going. We did a private car tour, taking my mother-in-law, who was 85 at the time, in England, and the private car was able to pick us up when we wanted it, to drop us off right at the front door of the destination, come back when we wanted them to come back. So if we found something that was particularly interesting, I could just call them and say, look, we're going to be here for another hour, and you know, the flexibility of having the private tours is fantastic. So I attest to it. It's more expensive, but the value of it is wonderful.
Yeah.
Let's see, flamenco dancing. Whoa, definitely something anybody who goes to Spain has got to take in an excursion that involves that. I was really wowed by the excursion that we experienced, to see it live in front of us. So definitely worth taking. I like the notion of walking tours after seeing all of the wonderful food and pastries and all that sort of thing that you're going to be munching on. I think you need to walk to be able to walk some of that off. So that's wonderful. Let's see, what else? Nights of Legend in Seville, the walking tour. I've done a tour, only in all the travel that I've done, I've only done one nighttime tour, and was amazed at the different perspective and ambiance that was, you know, shown by a tour at that time. So I think that would be a really neat experience to have too. Comments on the hotels. You know, everything you showed us had really large rooms, and you always emphasized the fact that they were non-smoking, and that's, in my experience, quite different from a typical European hotel. So I wanted to comment on that. You know, we seem to be getting more North American experiences in hotels in Europe now, and I was quite amazed by that.
Yeah, and the other thing is the air conditioning, which is not something you have everywhere in Europe. You find it a bit more in Southern Europe, but you know, our clients definitely appreciate that in properties.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good point to make too. Rental cars, question for you. You talked about a particular route that was about 650, I don't know if you said miles or kilometers. Probably.
Kilometers, yeah.
Yeah. Is it easy to navigate when you rent a car and drive around?
You know, in Spain, it is fairly easy. You can certainly get a GPS for the car. Of course, your phone as well is you know, a great option. But you're driving on the right side of the road. Signs the roads are very well signed.
Yeah.
They're in Spanish, but the towns are also in Spanish. So you're looking for that. We don't see problems. I personally have not driven in Spain, and that was just simply a case of the times that I've been. When I went with a lot of time, I had no money, and when I've gone back with shorter times, I just haven't moved around as much.
Yeah.
But we send a lot of clients down that way who do rent cars and love the experience. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Good to know. Lisbon and Porto, we have spent time in both of those cities, not enough, but did get to experience them. I want to note that, and I think this is pretty standard, if you go to sit at a restaurant and there are appetizers at the table there, those are not chargeable until you start to eat them. And when you start to eat them, then you'll be charged for them. So I think that's pretty standard in the restaurant, something we learned, which we were kind of surprised about.
Yeah, they tend to be with bread and perhaps with olives. They're not going to come and lay out a full spread for you and see if you eat it, but there's often a basket of bread, and like you say, it's a small charge, but they won't charge you if you don't eat it.
Yes, that's right. Okay. And we did a Douro river cruise there with a start and a finish in the Douro, the city of Porto. And one of the things that stood out for me was the iron bridge that was at one end of the city, which had a wisteria bush that probably was 100 yards long going down the hill. So anyway, that was an experience that we had. Well, I think that's pretty well everything. So I'm going to talk about the next scheduled presentation. That we're going to actually skip a week next week, folks, and be on March the 29th at 6:30 p.m. when Kristen Ertz, Sales Director of Canada for Hurtigruten Expedition Cruises, will talk about what Hurtigruten can offer by way of expedition cruises. That's a hot new market now, and in particular, West African and Svalbard itineraries. Sign up at the CARP travel website. That's CARP Nova Scotia spelled out, .ca/CARP-travel-webinar. And you can notice the URL at the top of the placard behind me. So thanks again, Mark, for your presentation this evening on Europe Express. I found it really interesting. I'm sure any viewers now and in the future did as well. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it, Danny, and I have to tell anybody who is watching that they're very fortunate to have an advisor with as much experience and passion as they have in you. And I know that they will be well taken care of, and we look forward to seeing them over in Europe.
Me too. Thanks, Mark.
All right, thanks, Danny.